Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's health and nutrition and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly during perimenopause and onwards. We know that so many women struggle with not only hormonal symptoms like irritability, brain fog, night sweats, hot flashes, but also sudden weight gain that seems to have just come out of absolutely nowhere. You've changed nothing in your life. You're doing everything the same. And now you're cutting out your carbs, you're cutting out your calories, doing all the cardio, all of the things that you used to do to try and lose weight, and they simply aren't working anymore. And that just leaves you feeling incredibly frustrated. We know that your body is now inherently different. So our mission is to teach women about how their bodies change during this period of their life so that you can finally reach your health and fitness goals, feel in control and at home in your body again, and live a life full of vitality and really understand how to take care of this new body. Today, I have the wonderful coach Beth. She was starting to work with me at the very beginning of this journey, which is really great. She's one of the originals. She has worked with tons of women with hormonal issues. And today we are talking about all the things that can influence the scale and how to actually measure progress, because a scale is just one thing that we can utilize. So we're going to talk about all the other things that actually help you determine if you're on the right track, if you're making progress, and why the scale isn't necessarily the best and what we can do about it. So here we are with Coach Beth. Okay, so today, as I mentioned in the intro, I have Coach Beth here with me today. Funny story, we literally just were chatting and doing the podcast, and I forgot to press record. We literally got through 2 pages of notes. We're chatting back and forth, and I was like, oh my goodness, I didn't press record. So here we are again. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to actually measure progress when you're going through a fat loss phase or trying to put on muscle or whatever it is. Because we all just fixate on the scale so much. So we're going to briefly go over why the scale isn't a great indicator, all the things that can influence your number on the scale, and then other ways to actually measure progress appropriately. Because we know that measuring, when you focus on the scale, sometimes it can be so frustrating because you're on this journey to better your health. You're trying to improve your hormonal symptoms. You're improving your body composition, all those things. You're doing all of the things right. You got your habits down, you're planning, you're prepping your food, you're fueling your body appropriately with the energy that it needs. So how do we know if all this is working? Because we look at the scale and sometimes you're like, frick, I've been working so hard and the scale isn't moving as much as I want. And unfortunately, weight fluctuations are going to happen to absolutely everyone. Even though you've seen it before and you know what happens, it can still be super frustrating to see that number jumping around and it's not trending downwards as quickly as you want, or maybe there's little blips and you're coming up and down. And the most important thing to know is that weight is not a good indicator of progress independently. It just tells you gravitational pull on your body. It doesn't account for things like your body composition, how much muscle mass you have, your bone, fat mass. It doesn't tell you literally anything. So typically when we start our health and fitness journey, our body composition will start to change as we go, which means that your weight might actually stay the same or it could potentially go up. But that's because you're losing fat and gaining muscle, which realistically is what we want because we all want to look toned. And I know this is something everyone struggles with. So I know that I'm personally on a fat loss journey right now, trying to cut for our wedding, which is July 8th, which I'm super excited about. And I do weigh and everything. And Coach Beth, I know you have your own goals that you're working towards. So what are you working towards right now?
I am working towards building more muscle. I've always been really lean. And I really would like to put some muscle. I want to look like I work out, right? I think that's everybody's goal when they work out, is to look like they work out. Or else it health benefits, but why am I doing it? So I've been trying to gain weight actually, right? But because in order to grow muscle, I've got to eat more than I typically do. I have to be in a surplus. So on that journey to gain muscle, and it's been going slowly and good and all of that. But yeah, I am definitely have to keep weighing myself, monitor those fluctuations, but also make sure I'm feeding myself enough to get that muscle look that I want.
Exactly. So Beth, how often and when should we be weighing?
The best and only time you should be weighing yourself is in the morning. So that'd be right after you get up and go to the bathroom, before eating or drinking anything. And honestly, preferably naked. Make it as consistent as possible every day. Get those heavy pajamas off and get that weigh-in in. because we want to control as many variables as possible. So if we can eliminate anything that could potentially influence that number besides your literal body, that's going to be perfect. As you go throughout your day, you eat, there's fluid intake, maybe some inflammation, maybe some bloating. So right away in the morning is going to be your best bet.
And then how often should you be weighing?
You should be weighing pretty much every day. If you can every day at that same time in the morning, that's going to give us our best results. If you can't do that 3 times a week is fine as well. The issue with if we only weigh ourselves once a week is because so many variables can change throughout the week. Because we know our weight fluctuates day to day. If you're weighing yourself maybe on a high day this week and then a low day next week, and then just on a higher normal day next week, it may give us an off representation of what's happening in your body. So at least 3 times, preferably every day if you're going to do it, so we can get the most accurate reading of what's happening.
Yeah, because like, for example, if you slept really poorly the night before, like you're going to have more cortisol in your body. There's going to be more fluid retention, more inflammation. So like if you weigh yourself 1 week after a good night's sleep and you weigh yourself the following week after a bad night's sleep, the scale, like you might have a higher number that second week, but realistically, all the other days you might have been lower. So it's really, really important if you can, honestly, especially if you're in a fat loss phase, I think weighing yourself every day is really great. And then taking that average of all those numbers, because you want to look at like averages and trends, because it is going to go up and down. Like it's never going to be a weight loss every single day. Like I like sharing what my scale looks like. Like I always share my graph because it does go up and down. The overall trend is downwards, but it does go up and down. So we're looking for like the trend, the averages. That's what's more important. So we talked about the scale not being great because like sleep is one of the things that can really influence it, but there are so many things that can influence the scale. So we're just going to list these off quickly and go through them a little bit. But let's talk about the first one, Beth.
You had more sodium. So literally just salt. It's one of the main causes of weight fluctuations because it goes hand in hand with water. So if we eat more sodium than we're used to, our body has to retain more water in order to maintain the ion balance in our blood, organs, and muscles. That's a great thing. That's important. We see this a lot with clients that eat out the night before a weigh-in, even if they stay within their macros, just because of that sodium intake going up. The good thing is that our weight should normalize after a day or two. And one of the best things you can do is increase your water intake to flush out that extra sodium. Sodium's not a bad thing. If we have increased sodium more than we're used to, your body's going to hold on to a little more water due to that.
Yeah, because the water in your body is going to want to go where sodium is. It just has to like balance things out. So that's where it's going to want to go. This doesn't mean cut out sodium from your diet though, because sodium is actually very important. We actually encourage like most of our clients to make sure that they have a little bit of salt on their meals. And this is because like it's important for like electrolyte balance, for hydration, those kinds of things. It's more when there's a big fluctuation in sodium that we have to worry about. This is not us telling you to cut out salt. Please don't do that. It's actually really important for, again, hydration, your body to function properly, thyroid function, all those things. So table salt, don't cut it out. Like you actually do need it.
And things taste better.
Oh, so much better.
Things taste better with salt. So don't do that to yourself.
I know, like we had pasta the other night and I was on a podcast yesterday and she made fun of the way it said pasta.
I'm not going to say anything, but it is what it is. I'm so used to it now that I probably say it like that now.
The Canadians rubbing off on you.
It is.
Yeah, like we like had it. I'm like, oh, it's kind of bland. And I put a bit of salt and I'm like, man, this makes it so much better. And Taylor was like, I think it's good. And I'm like, oh, you're so kind, but it definitely needs salt.
It needs some seasoning.
The next one is water fluctuations. So salt will influence this, but so will water. So drinking water is a very good thing for you. It's great for long-term health. It's great for weight loss goals. Drinking more water is going to make your body actually function more efficiently and effectively. It's going to help you like be more clear in your thoughts and things like that. But if we start drinking more water than usual at the start, we are going to see the number on the scale increase. If you're not drinking as much water for a couple of days, and that lack of water in your body is also going to cause the weight to decrease. So do not intentionally not drink water to try and weigh less. That's not fat mass. It's not getting you closer to your goal by any means, because your body is going to adapt and then like level out afterwards anyways. So make sure you focus on drinking more water. And then after a few days, if you're being consistent, your body's weight will come back down as your body gets better at like taking in that water, being able to use it, balance things out.
The next one is carb fluctuation. So carbs do take more water to digest than fats or proteins. It's 3 molecules versus just 1 molecule per gram. So if you ate more carbs than usual, it's normal to be retaining a little water. Same goes for the other way around. If you eat less carbs than normal, you may weigh in a bit lower. Again, same with water, same with sodium. Don't cut out carbs to see that scale do what you want it to do. We need carbs. Nobody's great without carbs. Personality wise, carbs make you better. So eat them. Eat them. It is not worth it for that scale to go down just because of the carbs.
Carbs make you a better human being.
They do.
They really do.
They do. We're begging you.
Yes. Honestly, it's like you need your carbs to be a nice human being. It also gives you energy. It helps improve thyroid function and your metabolism. This is why you typically see people with like keto will like lose weight quite quickly on the scale, but it's just water because 1 gram of carb is going to be 3 to 4 grams of water. So again, it's just you're not actually getting closer to your body composition goal. You are just dehydrating yourself. And again, carbohydrates are very important for like increasing your melatonin levels, which is going to help you sleep better. It's going to decrease your cortisol levels, which will help with inflammation and fluid retention. Like there's so many things that carbohydrates are very important for. So do not cut out your carbs. You should be having carbs at every single meal. It can actually help to have carbs as a bedtime snack. There's so many benefits to carbs. Eat your freaking carbs. That's my rant for today. One of many, I'm sure that
we're not done.
This one. The next one is you haven't pooped. Pretty self-explanatory. If you're not going regularly, you're going to weigh a little bit more because you have more crap in your body. If you increase your protein or fiber quickly, you will typically see like constipation and bloating issues because it is harder to digest. So if you are going from like 60 grams of protein to 100 in a week, you are going to be constipated. Same with fiber. If you go from eating like 6 grams of fiber to 25, you're probably going to be constipated. So this is why it's really important to track at the beginning and then slowly increase because people will be like, oh, I started eating healthier and I feel terrible. And it's like, whoa. Betsy, you went from way too little to way too much, way too fast, and that's not going to benefit anyone.
The next one is hormones. So week 1, right as your period starts, and then week 3 of your cycle usually come with water retention. So don't worry if you're trending higher those weeks than the other 2. We probably know this, right? You're probably like, man, I don't know. It's just the week. It's just the week that's causing it. So being on birth control doesn't always make you exempt to these hormonal shifts either. And sometimes your water retention can even be more random when you're on it. And then in perimenopause, hormone fluctuations can be more extreme and random. So keep an eye on how you're feeling in general, as water retention is usually accompanied by other hormonal symptoms, digestive issues, fatigue, bloating, all of the above. And again, not fat mass, just your hormones are shifting as your cycle goes like normal.
Yeah, because like you're born with all your follicles when you were born. So, and those produce testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. As we pass a reproductive prime, those follicles start to die off and weaken. So production will be way super random. So you might have a ton of estrogen and progesterone one day, then you might have like none the next. So this is going to really influence like your hormonal symptoms and fluid retention. So it's really important to pay attention to like irritability, digestion, all those kinds of things. Cause then you can kind of like correlate that like, oh, it's probably my hormones fluctuating. It's not actually like all of a sudden fat mass. It's like fluid retention. So that's just something to be really aware of. And this is why like managing cortisol is so important, because high cortisol levels are going to negatively affect your hormonal levels of like estrogen and progesterone. So then you're going to have even more fluctuations, which you don't want. We want to make sure your highs are not super high and that your lows aren't super low. We want to try and like really minimize this crazy roller coaster that you're on. The next one is working out. Like when your muscles are sore or you worked out hard the day before, or you started like a novel exercise, or you started a novel workout program or a novel activity like kickboxing or whatever it is, your body is actually going to hold on to water in the form of inflammation in your muscles and fluid retention, which is important. Like we want this. It's how your body repairs them. It's how you're going to build muscle mass, get stronger, increase your metabolism. But it can definitely cause the number on the scale to jump a little. So if you started, again, a new workout activity or a new regime, or you're trying something different, even if you're not feeling sore, you are still going to see some retention. So it is really important to be aware of.
The next one is you ate later or more than usual. So eating food later at night than you're used to can cause those numbers on the scale to jump. And having a day where you eat more than usual can also do this. It's most likely water retention, as your body is trying to digest the extra off-schedule foods. Again, keep in mind, this is not fat mass gained. It is not bad to eat later in the day. You just have to be aware that if you do eat later, I sound Canadian. Eat later. if you do eat later in the day, the scale may fluctuate. Same thing if you ate more than usual. It may fluctuate. Again, it'll come back to normal during the week. The first round of this was really, really good. It'll come
Now
back
we're
to
stumbling over words.
yes. It'll come back to normal during the week. So you'll be good. Don't worry about there's no special time where you should stop eating.
Yeah, so it's not an increase in fat mass. Like it's literally just your body's trying to like compensate the regularity because our bodies love routine. So that's really all it comes down to. The next one is stress. Stress causes a ton of physical issues. Water retention and inflammation are just two of them. So if times are super stressful, you had a traumatic event, you're going through like busy, crazy times, tax season, if you're an accountant or whatever it is, keep in mind that it can cause water retention up to a week after things have settled down. So if you're going through a really hard time or experiencing a ton of stress, it's not like the next day all of a sudden your body's going to compensate and be good. Like it's going to take a week for that inflammation and that stress response to come down. So if you think about like your life and you've been very go, stressed all the time, it's really important to try and take time to like focus on self-care. This is a time where you shouldn't be like really low calorie, really low carb, doing a ton of exercise, because if you are, because you're panicking, because the scale's going up, you're actually going to make it be worse because you can't just keep adding stress on top of stress on top of stress. It doesn't equate to like a positive change. It's going to negatively affect you in the long run. So it's really important to be aware of that.
The next one's not super fun to hear, but it is you drank alcohol. Alcohol can cause water retention and a slowed metabolism for short periods of time. So we have to keep that in mind when we choose to drink, that the number could trend up the next day or two. And think about all the activities you probably do when you're drinking, right? You probably eat later than usual. Your sleep isn't great. All of these things happen. So, and we're talking about all of these things that can cause weight fluctuations, and drinking may accompany 2 or 3 of them. So just keep that in mind. Again, not a reason that you have to stop drinking altogether or anything. We're just talking about awareness here. And it's not fat you're gaining.
Exactly. And like the thing to notice about alcohol too is like it is going to increase your cortisol levels. So you will see dehydration the next day. So scale will go down, but then you're going to see like water retention as your body tries to compensate for the next 2 to 3 days afterwards. It also reduces your sleep quality. So if you are someone going through perimenopause and menopause, it'll typically be accompanied with like restless nights, tossing and turning, hot flashes, night sweats. And then also it'll increase your resting cortisol levels for like 3 days. So again, that leads to increased inflammation, fluid retention. It can actually will result in the long run to potential like weight loss resistance because cortisol needs somewhere to go. And we have 4 times the receptors in our belly fat than anywhere else in our body. So if you are in a fat loss phase, if you can take out alcohol, it is strongly recommended. We're never going to tell you that you can't, but you just do have to realize that it is going to make it so you're not going to get as good of results as if you weren't drinking alcohol for those 12 weeks. So if you can give up alcohol for 12 weeks, strongly recommend. That's what I've been doing currently in my fat loss phase, and it's been great. And I've actually been sleeping phenomenal. So that's always a win. The next one is you're sick or recovering. We all know how blah we can feel. And then we start feeling better and we're like, oh yeah, I'm going to start working out and stuff like that. But it's really important to note that your body can still hold on to water for weeks afterwards. Healing bodies take longer than just us feeling better. There's still stuff going on inside of us where our bodies still aren't 100%. So make sure that you're giving yourself some grace. Your body isn't focused on looking good. It's focusing on fighting off that virus or whatever you're dealing with. So remember that the number can trend up on the scale while you're recovering, and cortisol can actually stay elevated for 2 weeks after you've recovered from your sickness. So being aware of that stress on your body while you're recovering. So like you get better, you feel better. Don't like jump into the gym and do like crazy workouts right away. Ease your way into it because again, you're already in a high stress state for at least 2 weeks afterwards. So really focus on self-care, maybe just do some walking, do some weights, but like not to the volume and extent that you were doing before. You aren't going to lose all your gains and like progress that you've made. This is really important because again, cortisol is going to play a huge factor here.
The next one is you're just on certain medications. So we're talking antidepressants, steroids, allergy medications, even birth control can cause water retention and fluctuations on the scale. So just keep that in mind. If dosages change or you forget to take them, you're probably thinking, man, I'm doing all of these other things correctly. My water, my sodium, all of that. What's happening? It could be the medications that you're on. If dosages changed, you didn't take them one day, not fat mass.
Exactly. So now we've talked about like scale can fluctuate a ton. So I think it makes sense to understand that scale might not be the best way to actually measure progress because so many things can affect it. We went over like quite a few, but there's still tons more that we didn't touch on. Like we could talk about this all day. So we're going to talk about the other ways to measure progress. And you should probably use a few different ones. Like the scale is one tool, but again, it gives you one moment in time. Like I could go and drink a cup of water and then jump back on and be a pound heavier. So you should be pairing the scale number with other things as well to help you on your journey. If the scale is very triggering for you, if you see the scale number going up is going to make you like regret things and like all of a sudden cut out carbs or cut out calories and go off like your plan, then I recommend not weighing yourself. And you can use all these other ways instead. So the first one is progress photos. Everybody hates doing these. I'm doing it right now with Coach Cariana. She's coaching me through this fat loss phase for the wedding. But progress photos are good because we can't see our body change day to day. And progress photos will give us a good thing to be able to look back on because again, you could be gaining muscle mass, losing fat, so the scale doesn't change. But in photos, you can see like, oh, I can see more muscle definition. Oh, I look smaller. Oh, my waist looks smaller, things like that. But so it's really important to take those photos because I like to use the analogy of like the paper towel roll. Let's say like you're losing one piece of paper towel every single day. Day to day, you're not going to be able to see those changes. But if you take a photo at day 1 versus week 6 and one piece of paper towel or even every other day, one piece of paper towel comes off that roll, you can really see the differences there. Whereas day to day, you can't. So like taking progress photos is important. You don't have to look at them. You can put them in a hidden folder, whatever you want. I highly recommend it. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable as well. I took some this morning actually and sent them to Cariana. So like take those progress photos because it does help show body composition changes, whereas a scale can't tell you that.
Exactly. And another way to measure progress is your clothes are fitting better. So if you notice your jeans are feeling looser, your shirts are fitting differently, these are all signs you're experiencing fat loss and your body composition is changing for the better. The scale might not show you any of that, but if you're like, man, my normal wardrobe that I wear usually is fitting differently. I like the way this shirt looks. These jeans used to be tight and now I'm like able to button them fine. That is a huge sign of progress and something you should be really excited about.
Yeah, like I've had like women be like, oh, the scale isn't moving. I'm so frustrated. Like I've lost 2 pant sizes. The scale hasn't changed. I'm like, did you just hear what you said? You just said your pant size went down 2 sizes. So obviously body composition is improving, but you're more concerned about the number on the scale. I personally would rather my clothes fit better and then my progress photos look great. Like I look more toned. There's more definition. I would rather see that than the scale on the number change and then not be able to see those physical changes. Like, which one would you rather choose if you had to pick? You're going to choose like looking more toned, clothes fitting better, that kind of stuff, as opposed to the number on the scale. We give the number on the scale so much power and it's literally just a freaking number. Like it literally has no meaning. It has nothing. It's just gravitational pull. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Okay, so next one is measurements, another non-scale way to track data and progress. We recommend your waist, your hips, and your thighs as a minimum. So like waist, you would pick like I usually go by the narrowest part of your body, of your torso, because everyone's gonna be like a little bit different as to where the smallest circumference is, or like just like at belly button height. Like you can kind of decide what you want to use. And then hips, I typically say like the widest part of your hips. So like butt and hips. And then like thighs is always a good one as well. You can get someone to help you with it because I don't know about you, but I find it very difficult to try and like measure it because it might be like lopsided and stuff. So that's always an option as well.
The next one is your mood and energy levels are improving. So you're able to wake up and feel ready for the day. You don't need as much caffeine and you're not hitting that energy crash mid-afternoon. This is huge as well. This is another one where like, does it matter the number on the scale? If you feel really great every day, you have energy, you're able to hang out with your family, you're able to get done what you want to get done. Like it's always interesting when that scale number holds power over things like this, right? Because this is really quality of life we're talking here. You know, when you're able to be a really good person and not need as much caffeine to get through the day, you're just waking up feeling great. That's a huge sign of progress. Your body's happy with what you're doing at this point.
Well, you just have more energy to like enjoy time with your friends and family. Like it sucks when like you're like, oh, I don't really want to go out because I'm so exhausted or just in a bad mood. Like if you're having better energy levels and your mood is improving, that's a clear sign that hormones are improving. You're actually nourishing your body appropriately. And your hormones are balancing out. Like those are all really important things. And this typically comes during a reverse dieting process. And then when you're going into a fat loss phase, and if you're in a fat loss phase and you're still feeling good, that is fantastic because so many people experience like poor energy and levels and things like that where they're at, where their baseline is or where they've been hanging out for a while at their 1,500 calories or whatever it is. We reverse them, we add more calories, they start feeling really good. And then we go into our fat loss phase and they're nowhere near eating as little as before. They're seeing changes and they're still feeling good. That's amazing. When you still feel like you have energy and we're reducing your calories, that's awesome. Like that's like best case scenario. We want that. You shouldn't be feeling super crappy during a fat loss phase. So if you feel super crappy now, you probably need to be eating more. The next one is sleeping better. You're sleeping longer. You're falling asleep easier. You're not waking up in the middle of the night as much. You feel more rested when you wake up. You're not having your night sweats, your hot flashes. Again, this is a sign your metabolism is improving. Your hormone profile is improving. And when you're sleeping better, you're naturally going to make better food choices later in the day. Because I don't know about you, Beth, but if I only get like 6 hours of sleep, and I've done this by tracking on my Fitbit, I will literally eat anything in sight that I can get my hands on. Like I am a freaking monster.
Same.
If I get like 6.5, 7, it's like, oh, I'm good. I'm like not as hungry. I tend to make better food choices. I'm not as irritable. I'm less likely to comfort eat. So if I'm sleeping better, like I do so much better.
Same. I am a carb monster if I don't get enough sleep. Like it is not good. And I can like mentally feel myself doing it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I am going for this and I don't know if I need it. Like, I know what I'm doing, but it's because sleep is affecting you in such a way. And sometimes, like, I've had clients that are like this as well and they don't realize they're doing it. But then when they go in and track, they're like, man, what happened today? Because I have been on it all week. And then I'm like, how'd you sleep last night? And they're like, terrible. And I'm like, you also turned into a carb monster.
And it's not like you're choosing like high fiber carbs or like fruit. Like you were looking for chips. You were looking for chocolate. I am like ordering donuts. Like I am doing, those are the kind of things that I'm doing. Like, because I'll open the fridge and be like, that will give me energy and make me feel good. But I'm going to have that donut instead.
Exactly.
Like that's
exactly.
Because your body is just looking for that quick energy, right? Yes. Because like you're so tired.
Yeah. And it's normally not a bad thing, right? To have those kind of things. Like we don't want you to like only choose like quote unquote healthy things. However, if that's the only thing that you're craving, there's probably something we need to look at.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I'm in my deficit and I don't feel like super hungry and stuff. Things have been great. And I made sure to be able to have 3 Chip Ahoy mini egg cookies fit into my macros. And like, I enjoyed it. It was great. I didn't feel out of control. And it's like, it's fine. Like you can still have those things, but it's when you feel like not in control or you're just constantly looking for those things. Yeah, you should probably like pay attention to your sleep. So I like challenge a lot of people to be like, pay attention to your sleep, pay attention to how you feel the next day. What kind of foods are you reaching for? Because we kind of figure out what that sweet spot is of like, okay, you need a minimum of this much. Otherwise, you kind of turn into a monster. Yes. And that's okay. Yes. It all happens.
It happens to the best of us. It does. Yeah.
I call it going into gremlin mode.
Oh,
like
gremlin
I turn
mode.
into a gremlin.
I am trademarking carb monster. So everybody has their thing. It's not pleasant.
No, definitely not.
The next one is your digestion has improved. So more regular bowel movements. You're experiencing less bloating, gas, constipation, all of those negative things that we don't want to be experiencing. You're experiencing less of them. That also, man, talk about quality of life and talk about just feeling better. When your digestion is not going well, like you know it during the day, it's on top of your mind. Like you're not able to just go about your day without thinking about it. So when we have that under control, we are definitely seeing some progress.
Oh yeah. Like I always say, if you're not pooping, you're not happy. Like I don't care what anyone says. When you're constipated, you are not a happy human being. And I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they've been following like our advice and working with a coach and things like that. And I was just doing like a follow-up, and she has been dealing with diarrhea for like the last like 6 years, she said, to the point where like she wouldn't want to eat because then she wouldn't be able to go out, because then you always have to like know where the bathroom is and stuff like that. And she's been working under like the discretion of one of our coaches for 2 months. And she said that she has never felt so good in her entire life. She can eat foods now that she like would avoid before. She doesn't experience this anymore. Her bloating is better. Digestion is better, like better quality of life. Like she's more willing to like go out with friends and have a social life and things like that because she's not constantly like worried about where the bathroom has to be. That's huge.
That's huge. That is huge.
That is huge. And if your bowels are happy, like the amount of inflammation and like stomach distension that you're going to see a change in for the positive is like, that's incredible. Incredible.
Oh yeah. The inflammation goes down and you can bet she is way more happy about that than she would be if she still had that going on, but saw that number drop, right?
Well, and can you imagine 7 years of like literally having to run to the bathroom for 7 years?
I can't. I cannot imagine 7 days. 7 hours would even put me into like, what am I doing?
Yeah. So it's like she's gone 2 months without having that happen to her. Like that is freaking incredible.
Huge.
Like I'll tell you one thing. She told me she's very happy and I 100% believe her.
No kidding. My gosh. That's awesome though.
The next one, which is super funny, is your libido has improved. You are feeling better. You're feeling more confident. Your hormone profile is improving. If you're experiencing less cortisol levels, less inflammation, less fluid retention, your hormones are going to balance out. Libido is going to improve. And you're also just going to feel better about yourself. I remember one woman messaged me, and this was like probably 7 months ago. And she had signed up for just like a short term with us. And she messaged me, and it is still one of my favorite messages. I have it saved on my phone and it's favorited in my phone because I love it so much. And she was like, oh my goodness, I cannot believe this program. It has completely changed my life. My husband like put his hand on my leg and I felt like I was a teenage girl again, signed me up for another 6 months. And I was like, yes, this is like amazing. Not only are we helping people with like their hormones and their weight loss and just feeling good, we are also helping marriages out here, people. Freaking amazing.
That's right. Not only with carbs, but also with all of the other things as well, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So amazing. Like that is huge. Huge, huge, huge.
Awesome. The next one is your attention span has improved. So you have less brain fog. You're able to handle brain frog. Did I say brain fog? I heard it after I said it. Part of me was like, keep going. Part of me was like, stop. I listened to the part to stop, obviously. Able to better handle tasks, you're more productive and less forgetful. Maybe I need more food because I am not speaking correctly, but that is amazing as well, right? So that is just day to day, you're getting stuff done. I know brain fog is not pleasant, right? You're not thinking the way you want to be. It can make relationships a little more difficult. It can make everything more difficult. So fueling your body, taking care of that, making sure hormones and metabolic health are where they need to be. Huge wins if this is one of the outcomes of that.
Well, and this is like a super common thing that women during perimenopause and menopause struggle with is like, you feel like your brain just doesn't work anymore. Like you're overwhelmed. You get like you feel like you could tear up a lot easier. Brain fog. I talked about when I was going through like some really stressful times and like not taking care of my body. I like put my milk in the cupboard and my cereal in the fridge. Like I tell that story all the time. And then I like went to grab something. I'm like, what the heck is the milk doing here? Or I put my oatmeal, I thought I put it in the microwave, and then I went to open the microwave and I was like, where the frick is my oatmeal? I put it in the cupboard. So like when your attention span improves and like just mental clarity is better, like that's also a good sign that you're like moving forward. If you're someone who's struggling with like energy and brain fog, you definitely need to pay attention to like carbohydrates, your food intake, that kind of stuff, to get things moving in the right direction. The next one is you're not dealing with constant cravings or constant hunger. You actually feel satisfied throughout the day and you aren't thinking about food 100% of the time. This is huge. Like we even talk to women like as they're going through the reverse dieting process, they tell me this is one of the easiest things to follow that we do. They feel very free. They like get rid of all these like restrictions around food and they're still seeing progress, which is great. And then they go into their fat loss phase and they still actually feel really good. They're not worried about stuff. Like the first week, you're just trying to kind of navigate and figure out what your like go-tos and stuff are. But like you're not struggling with like hunger and cravings and stuff like that all the time. That being said, if you're eating like 1,200, 1,300 calories and you're not hungry, that's because you're running on stress hormones. That's not good. You're running on cortisol. That's also going to increase your insulin resistance because there's going to be like more glucose going through your bodies. That's what your body's trying to do. You're in fight or flight. That's how it works. And you can give yourself diabetes, which is not good. So if you're eating low calorie and you're not hungry, that's not good. And then if you're dealing again with like constant hunger and cravings, also not good. So like that can go either way. You should feel hungry at like regular intervals, but not all day. Like you're supposed to feel hungry.
The next one is, and this is probably one of my favorite ones, is you feel great during workout. So you're hitting PRs on your lifts and you're seeing progress. Huge, huge, huge. You cannot do this without properly fueling your body. You cannot do this if you're not in a great place with your hormones and your metabolism. Your body is not interested in learning how to lift more if it can't deal with what's just currently going on within it. So I love this, and nothing feels better than getting stronger. Like, even if you're like, man, I don't want to get bulky, nothing feels better than getting stronger. You're not going to get bulky. It takes a lot of work. I'm trying. I can't. So it's just not going to be able to happen that easily. So, making sure that you're doing those things, you're properly fueled to do those things. Amazing.
Well, like if you're hitting like PRs in the gym and like you're getting, like you can visibly tell like you're getting stronger, you're able to lift heavier weights. That's going to in turn increase your metabolism. It's going to in turn increase your muscle mass. It's going to help you with like tone and definition. So that's really good. Like if you're finding you're really struggling in the gym, that's typically a sign that like, we're probably not doing things appropriately. So like we need to change things. The next one is you're able to deal with stress so much easier. This is one of my favorites. The things that typically overwhelm you, you're able to handle it so much better. So things that would typically like irritate you or like put you into like a tizzy, like you get stressed out really easy or you feel like you're on the verge of tears and now that's not happening anymore. That's huge. That's really, really great and important. And like a thing that you should really realize. And a lot of women, when they do like cue when this is happening, they're like, oh man, like normally that would like ruin my whole day. I just kind of dealt with it and moved on. That's amazing.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. The next one, another one of my favorites, they could all be my favorites, but this one is really good as well. You feel good in your skin and you're saying more kind things about yourself. That is huge. That makes a huge difference. You're feeling more confident with your food choices. You're able to enjoy a restaurant meal without stressing about it. That's one of my favorite messages to get from a client is we went out to eat. I wasn't really prepared. I ate what I wanted to eat and it was fine the next day. And I'm fine. That used to freak me out and I'm fine. Or I didn't order the salad if I didn't want it, and I ordered what I wanted to eat and I'm fine. Those are amazing messages to get. That goes along with like brain clarity, all of that, because you're able to think through a situation that's not stressing you out as much. This is amazing because this is just enjoying life. And that's really what it comes down to.
Oh yeah. Like you just feel more empowered. You feel more confident. Like you're more present. Like those are all huge, huge wins and like so, so important. So I think like we overstress and focus on things so much. Like, and I love getting messages from someone. Like I had one woman when I had first started doing this, she like messaged me and she's like, man, I cannot believe how much my mindset has changed. She's like, I hopped on the scale. I didn't really say what I wanted to. And she's like, I feel like I look good today. And I was like, do you just realize how incredible
Right,
that is? That's
right.
amazing. Like, I love that. And then lastly, the scale. We all know how frustrating the scale can be. That's why we don't use it as the only metric for success. Fluctuations occur for so many reasons, as we talked about, and we didn't even list all of them. But like there was salt, there was water, workouts, carbohydrates, like bowel movements, your hormones, medications, sleep. Like there's so many things that influence a scale, so you shouldn't only use that one thing. Body composition can change, clothes can feel better, you're losing inches, you're seeing more definition, but the scale might not change. And that's okay. So it's really important to pay attention to how you feel versus what the scale is telling you. You're not going to remember what you weighed on this exact date 1 year from now, but by working to improve everything about it, you are going to make sure you feel different in 1 year. So focus on those trends more than day-to-day data. Weight loss is not going to be linear. That's not a thing. And I always like to tell a story of like, make sure you're being present. Cause like I've said it a million times, like I lost my mom a little over a year ago. And like, I look back at pictures and I remember being like, oh, I feel bloated and stuff. And it's like, man, I wish I would have taken more pictures or not hidden pictures or been more present, not worried about the like eating or if the potato was going to make me feel bloated or whatever it is. Like just be a little bit more present and like pay attention to those things. And be in those pictures. Like I remember like we went to Hawaii not that long ago. And like I was not confident in like the way I was looking. Like my shorts were feeling a little bit tight and things like that. And I didn't crash diet. And what I did was I just went and bought jeans or like shorts that were one size bigger. And it made me look better in photos. I felt more comfortable. Things weren't digging in because when clothes are digging into your sides, you don't feel great. It's also going to result in like bloating and like digestion issues because we're like cutting into our stomachs. And like no one asked me what size I was. Nobody asked me what my weight was. Like nobody cared. And we still took lots of photos. And is there photos that I didn't love because they weren't super flattering? Yeah. But like, I want to make sure I always have memories of things because like you never know how short life is or what can happen. So I really think it's important to like remember that like even if you're not where you are right now or like you're still working towards a goal or whatever it is, it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy where you are right now. That doesn't mean you have to hate your body. You can still enjoy life and be confident and proud of who you are and still be wanting to make a change. And I think that's like really important to like acknowledge because a lot of people I think are stuck in that mindset of like, oh, I'm not going to be happy until I'm at this number. And like, that's not necessarily true.
No, that's not true. And it is so important to give yourself grace as well, right? Like just allowing your body to you learning the process, right? You learning that process of what it's going to take to improve your sleep, improve your digestion, improve all of these things that we talked about that lead towards the actual progress and not just the number on the scale. So important to take the time to learn how to do those things correctly. We all know that those crash diets do not work. The restriction does not work. It makes your progress take longer to get to than it would have if you had just focused on that process and how to get there instead. And that's exactly what we try to instill in clients. It's exactly what you should be doing to get those results you want. I always, like if you are doing the correct things to get to where you want to be and we're getting those habits, you have a great system down, right? That's really what's going to lead us there and giving yourself grace as we work to get there.
Was there like a certain time in your life where there was like a number you were really trying to like get to and then you got there and like it wasn't what you thought it was going to be or like you weren't happy?
Yeah. Actually, I was, I mean, you know this, I was anorexic in high school. I was anorexic through part of my college. And there was like a number, and I know probably a lot of people feel this and you don't have to be anorexic to feel this at all. But there was like, every time that scale would go down, there was like a little bit of like euphoria almost, right? It was like pretty exciting to see that number go down. And that was really what I thought was like going to make this a great way to live. And I remember I'm 5'8". I remember seeing 112 pounds. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I am getting close. I didn't have a number in mind, but it was basically like, how low can I go? Right. And that was like, whew, that is a number I'm seeing. And it did not make things better. Right. I was at a very clinically ill position in my life trying to, basically I just wasn't eating. So trying to diet that way. And yeah, the number is not everything. I weigh 30 more pounds than that now. So, and I'm much happier. I have the sleep. I have the stress. I have all of that down. I look better than I did back then. So just so important. It's not even, you don't even have to have an eating disorder to feel what that scale makes you feel. Just so important to know that, you know, the body you want likely weighs more than you think it will. And that's okay.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Like the body that you think you want probably weighs like a solid 15 to 20 pounds heavier than you think it does.
Always.
Like by a lot. Because like I remember this clued into me when I was in grad school actually. Cause like my partner at the time, his sister had a baby and like the baby only like lived for 2 days. And it was like my first really big loss and just seeing other people just so distraught. Like it did a lot to me. And so I was dealing with that stress. And then I decided to sign up for this stupid spin challenge of 30 days and 30 classes in 30 days. So you were either doing a 1-hour spin class every day, or you would alternate and do like 2 in one day, give yourself a day off, 2 in one day, take a day off, do 1. It was insanity. And this whole like chasing the scale thing was still kind of in my head, even though like I was already doing weight training. I had seen so much changes in my body in like a good way. So I was like pretty much at the physique that I wanted. But then with the stress and the amount of cardio that I was doing and like not really eating and taking care of myself and just dealing with this grief, after those 30 days was the lightest I had weighed in a long time. I was like 125 or something. And like I'm 5'5", and I was like, the scale was lower, like by like 10 pounds. I lost like 10 pounds. But like I hated the way I looked. I lost all my muscle tone. I got that like skinny fat look. So yes, the scale was like 10 pounds lighter, but I was so uncomfortable in my skin. My clothes were actually tight because I lost muscle and gained fat. But I lost like more muscle than I gained in fat, but like just it completely changed. And I remember being so like, it was in May. I was like, coming up to summer. I'm like, what the heck am I going to do? And then I tried like crash dieting. I tried doing more cardio and it made it worse. And like, So this whole concept of like the number doesn't actually reflect like what you want to look like. And it took me like a solid like 6 to 9 months of like trying to figure it out after I tried crash dieting at that point and like doing a ton of cardio to like get back into a regular workout routine, eating enough when I started less like not stressing about it as much. That's when things started to change. But that was for me when it really clued in that like, oh, the scale and like my body composition, those are two very different things. And I would way rather be heavier and look a certain way than like have the number be a certain thing and like the body composition not really like represent that, if that kind of makes sense.
For sure. Yeah. I think the reason that happens a lot of the times is because we want results very, very quickly. Right. So those crash diets come in, the over exercising comes in because we want those results very, very quickly. And that a lot of the times is not great for body composition. It's not going to be great for the scale. It's not going to do actually what you want it to do. So if we reframe the amount of time in our minds that we want, let's say you want 1 to 2 months. You're like, summer's coming up, 1 to 2 months. I want to look this way in my swimsuit. And we actually reframe that to maybe 1 year. Man, what a difference that is going to make. You're probably going to look and feel way better by like when you want to anyways, because you are working on that process again to get to where you want to be. But you're also not going to do a crash diet to get there. And you're not going to undo, lots of work, similar to a situation like you did to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like in a month, like losing 10 pounds and losing a ton of muscle because I wasn't sleeping, not eating enough, stressing myself out, doing a ton of cardio. Like that was a tough lesson to learn. Like I don't have like any photos around the 6 to 9 months around that time because like I had so much body dysmorphia. Like it was brutal. Like I just could not believe. And I think that's also where like a lot of my hormone problems started happening too. And now I have like PCOS and potential thyroid issues because of that. And like I've been working hard to like reverse that for quite a while. And it does take time. And we always think of like, okay, it took X amount of time to like gain this much weight and then you think you're going to lose it all in a month. Like that's really unrealistic. Like our bodies don't work that way. It just doesn't.
Yeah. And it's not fair to yourself, right? It's not fair to your body. It's not fair to yourself. It is a learning. It takes some time to learn what you need to do to live the lifestyle you want to live. Like we give ourselves so much grace to learn how to ride a bike or to learn a new skill or to learn a new job. And we never give ourselves that much grace to lose weight, right? Because you're probably at a point where you're like, man, this has gone on too far. I need to do what I need to do to get rid of it. But if you extended that same grace to yourself that you do with all of these other things, changes everything.
Oh, totally. And like, especially if you're paying attention to like the process of actually like achieving it. Like, cause we're always so focused on like the end goal. But if we learn to like, be like, oh man, like I went to the gym 3 days a week this week, like that's awesome. I'm gonna try and stay consistent with that. Like if you focus on like the process and actually like the habits that like build the person you're trying to become, you are way more likely to be successful than if you're just focusing on that end goal. Cause then every day you're waking up and you're like, I didn't get there yet. I didn't get there that. As opposed to like, oh, I did this. I've been consistent for this amount of time. Like that change in mindset is huge and will like definitely help you get to where you're going to be. But again, that took me forever to figure out. And it's so hard to like change those gears. And I'm sure with you and like anorexia, it was the same thing, like super freaking hard to get that through your mind.
Yeah. And it's still not perfect. Right? There is still times where it's like, no, Beth, you want to gain weight. Like there's no reason you should be like, oh, I lost a pound. Like, no, get up there and gain some weight, right? Like go eat something. My God. So it takes a long time. It's a long, long time, especially if you have any history with disordered eating, right? Because it's the mental issue going on there as well. But then also if you have any, women in general just want to see that scale go down. So it's a hard reset on your mindset, but so important. So much better for your quality of life.
Well, and that's just what it is. It's like, we're just so like hyper focused on like one thing or like the little like, oh, we get when the scale goes down. And then it's like, when that doesn't reflect what you want it to, we let it like dictate how we're feeling for the rest of the day. And that sucks. Like I've done that before. I'm like, I wake up and I'm about to like weigh myself. So I'm like in my bra and underwear and I'm like, man, I look so freaking good today. And then I hop on the scale. I'm like, what the heck? I'm a pound heavier than what I should be. And then I'm like, upset and it ruins my entire day when I literally 30 seconds before I hopped on the scale was like, I look like a hot piece today. Like I look great. Like that's so messed up. And I think we just need to like being able to like be aware of that will also help like so much because the scale just messes with you so much.
Yeah. That awareness piece is huge, right? Because you your first reaction, a lot of times it's so hard to change that, but that first reaction might still be like, who? But then if you like think back to even all the things we just talked about, we're like, man, I was so proud of my one client. She just did this the other day. But she's like, first reaction, not great. Second reaction, after I took a minute, took some time to message you, like, thank you. And then she was like, yeah, I ate out later last night than I wanted to. Plus I had a drink. I should have, I know this is why I'm not going to get upset by it. I'm like, so that's huge. Like, you cannot always pick how you react to something, but you can choose what you're going to do about it and the feelings you're going to have about it later.
Yeah. And just like how to move forward from it, honestly. Like, I almost think everyone needs like a checklist beside their scale. It's like, okay, scale went up. Let's take a look. Did I drink enough water? Did I sleep enough? Did I have more salt? Did I have more? Like,
it's like, no.
I almost think people need to have that list. So then it's like, if they say yes to anything, it's like, oh, okay, it's just water. Like, almost to have like a logistical visual of like, okay, I didn't gain 5 pounds overnight. We're fine. Like, I almost think people like they should, they should have a list on scales.
Yes.
That's what they should have.
Before you step on this,
list on the scale.
Before you step on this, did you do any of this yesterday?
Yeah. Answer these questions. Yes. I think we should trademark that. We need to make that.
Yes.
Perfect.
I'm getting patents going right now.
Okay. Well, this was super fun. I hope you guys had a wonderful time with myself and Coach Beth today. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, you know where to find us. Bye.
Bye.